I don't know. I'm at my limit.
You're at your limits.
I have used all of my PP. I have no ethers left.
Oh my god, he can't get his PP up. You heard it first.
You know what? I was like,
no, I'm cutting it right there. Shut up.
40.
Hello, my beautiful superheroes and mutants. Welcome to the Nintendo Everything Podcast, episode 38. I am your host, Oni Dino. With me, I have a third-tier mutant, a member of the X-Men. His power? Procrastination. It's Galen!
I'm pretty sure that's a little bit more than a genetic mutation trait. I think that's like inherent.
Hey, inherent mutantism. So, Galen, you don't play Splatoon, do you? Why did I say it like that? You don't play Splatoon, do you?
I do not play Splatoon. No.
Because there is a Splatfest going on right now, and it is the last Splatfest that Splatoon 2 is going to have, which is weird to me.
Oh, yeah, they were talking about this at, I think it was one of the, not the Splatoon Invitational that they had at E3.
Yeah. So this is the final one. It's Team Order versus Team Chaos, and I think that I am Team Order.
Nice. Obviously, I have to go Team Chaos in that point. But it's really weird that this is going to be the last Splat Fest for a while.
Okay, you can't play the joke several times in a row. It's going to, it doesn't play. So I just wanted to start off with a quick thank you to our listeners. I noticed last week that a few of you left some more iTunes reviews for us. Thank you so much for that. Unfortunately, we can't count on the platforms themselves to grow our podcast organically, so this is a complete communal effort, and leaving us those 5-star reviews on iTunes is super huge in getting us in front of new eyes. So thank you so much to the folks that have done that, and also for those who haven't left us a rating yet, what are you doing? Do you need me to come to your house and beat you up? Because I'll do it. Hi, Dom. That's fine.
No, getting the word out, getting those ratings out there, and just in general being able to see this small little community that we've made is really, really inspiring, actually.
Yeah, I really love it. Honestly, our show keeps growing, and it's really, really awesome. The kinds of people that write into us and stuff. I just never thought it was going to get as popular as it has been, and how it continues to grow. So Thank you very much to everybody, every single one of you who has ever subscribed or just listened or left a comment, followed us on Twitter and junk. Every single one of you matter, and I'm just really feeling the love lately.
Domo arigato gozaimasu.
Why were you the one that said the Japanese?
I don't know, but I'm going to bow now.
As you bump into your mic, I'm leaving that mic bumping. So I guess, sort of on that note, Galen and I were mentioning it just a skosh before the recordings of the podcastings. I think thanks to all the listeners' support here, I'm gonna be doing a thing that I've been thinking about doing for a couple of years, and that is start up a casual gaming channel on YouTube.
Nice, very nice.
So I'll be doing it with my husband Clifton and our cat, of course, Boo.
I'm really hoping that you get super popular just because I want to see the fan art of Boo.
I hope we don't get popular because I don't want to deal with all that. I want it to be a nice, small community. I'd like it to be organic growth. I don't want it to be all of a sudden a blow up. If it seriously all of a sudden blows up, which is a 0.0001% chance, I'm seriously just going to close it down because I don't want to deal with that.
Yeah.
I got other things I want to do. This is just for fun.
Well, if you ever need the promotion, I know the guys over at Super Turbo Fighters, and they'd love to, help you with that.
So, yeah. We're going to play some games, give some commentary, talk about junk like comics and culture and society, sexuality, all kinds of stuff. So,
Ooh, saucy.
well, life, just life in general. So if you want to be a
Gotcha.
part of that, then please do stay tuned. I'm sure I'll end up announcing something or whatever next week on the podcast. And it's going to be pretty freeform. I have no idea what I'm really going to be doing for upload schedule just yet, but we'll see what the people want to hear or see, and we'll make adjustments as we go.
Very nice.
So what is coming up in this episode? We're going to be talking about the regular Switch model also getting an unexpected upgrade this week. What is all that about? We're also talking lots of superhero stuff because there is Marvel and DC happening on this here Nintendo Switch. And of course, Fire Emblem, which comes out in a week. And then more Pokemon goodness that we promised you last episode.
I brushed up on the big controversy issues right before the podcast, so I'm really stoked to get my 2 cents in.
Yeah, I hope I still remember what was going on because this has been going on for a couple of weeks now.
Oh, don't worry. I'll remind you.
Thank you. So let's jump into our adventure log and then go on to the news. Sound good?
Sounds good.
So Galen, why don't you tell me about a little game called God of War?
Yeah, I decided to take a little bit of a break from the Switch. I put it in its dock and
Fake
let it
gamer.
rest I let it rest its 4-hour battery and decided to get God of War because it was on sale for like an Amazon Prime thing. But I'm thoroughly impressed by the game, and I'm saying that not having played any of the God of War games previously. I've always kind of shied away from that because God of War is just a generic hack and slash. Like, it just didn't do it for me back when it came out for the PS2.
Oh, that's so totally my genre, though.
Yeah, I know. But no, playing through this game, like, there is an in-depth level of maturity to the game that I can see why it got so high praise. On top of that, like, if you're comparing, Greek mythology versus Norse mythology, I will take Norse mythology any day.
It's Norse. Why did you say North?
Shit.
You said it right and then you corrected yourself to wrong.
Norse mythology is right up my alley. I love how they don't really stick to the high points per se. Like, they don't what's something that's in Norse mythology? Not Zeus, god damn it. Thor, you know what? We'll have Thor in there a whole lot, and maybe a couple of other obscure. No, like, a lot of it has to do with more of the legends and more of the smaller mythos and ghost stories and things like that were passed around. I got a feeling like they really kind of did their homework when they were looking into what they wanted to put into the game.
So what do you think of the combat?
So the combat is pretty fun. Fun story. I actually, when I booted up the game for the first time, they gave you, there's 4 different challenges. There is the easy mode, normal mode, hard mode, and then God of War mode, which you have to beat the game once in order to get to. So me being the cocky person that I am, I decided to go ahead and put it on hard mode, thinking, how hard can this be? Didn't even get through the tutorial level. It was like first combat, I'm like, oh wow, that I can see what's going on here. And it's really weird because they map all the attack buttons on the shoulders as opposed to like one of the actual buttons on the controller. So I wanted to go like, do an attack, and ended up not doing anything.
I think ever since like Dark Souls got really popular, then a lot of the shoulder button usage became like the standard for a lot of action adventure games.
Yeah. I think you can go ahead and change it in the control scheme, but at this point I've like already kind of committed to it. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna learn this one way or another. I I did end up bumping it back down to normal. So
You always
enough
bite
for
off
me
more
to-
than you can chew. That's kind of your MO.
Yeah. But by the time I died for like the 4th time in the opening tutorial, I was like, okay, maybe I should take a step back on this. No, the combat is... It's sluggish in all of the good ways.
Uh-huh.
You know, the character of Kratos that you play as is this Spartan warrior who is super muscle bound and like a tempered brawler but a soldier at the same time, and you can kind of feel the weight of his attacks, like when you swing your axe or when you... What's cool is you can actually throw the axe, and it's a magic axe and can come back to you. But if you throw it, you can leave it in the enemy, and then you go into like this hand combat, like fist mode. And I found that I actually prefer to go into fist mode versus using the axe. So, but it feels so satisfying to be able to run up and just start mashing face. Like it feels good.
Yeah, I watched maybe, I don't know, the first like couple hours of gameplay. I was watching some people play it, and it looked brilliant.
Mm-hmm. No,
everything looked like it had weight behind it, especially when you throw your axe, then you call it back to you, and then it, he grabs it. It was never not cool.
Exactly. I'm actually going to compare how the combat feels to Destiny. And I know that may sound a little bit weird, but it has more to do with when you are playing Destiny and you're running around and jumping from platform to platform while you are shooting your gun. There is this, like, when you land, you can see the motion of your gun move a little bit and shake because, nobody, like, keeps their sights perfectly still as they're moving around. There's momentum to it. There's sway, and it feels natural and it feels good. I got that same kind of satisfaction when I was playing this game. As I was, using my attacks, as I was dodging out of the way, I could actually feel the weight and the momentum of the movements that I was making in the game, and it translated it. Like, I've become quite adept at using the shield as a guard, but it has, like, maybe a half a second delay between pushing the button and seeing his motion actually bringing the shield up and having it unfold. It adds to that sensation and that being immersed into the game.
So that's good. Do you think you're going to stick with it then?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm thoroughly impressed with this game. And it's a game that my wife was actually able to watch over my shoulder while she was doing a project of her own. And you know what? The story and the mythos of it was kind of what appealed to her. Which, you know what? I'll take that. I did also want to make one last call out on the story of the game, though. The way that the characters are written and the dialogue in it is incredibly impressive. And just the way that some of the scenes are directed.
The child is not annoying?
The child is annoying, but not in a way that it's getting on my nerves. It's in the way of, this is a child who doesn't know what he's doing. Like, you feel an emotional connection where the irritation that you're having with this child is like a little nephew or something like that, where you know that he doesn't know any better. It is still kind of annoying, but you want to try to, like, teach him.
Well, it sounds like it's written fairly endearing.
Very much so. So at the point that I am at in the story, and I'll try to leave it a little bit vague for spoiler purposes, you go through this ruin that has revenants and undead monsters in it. And during the time that you're going through there, I'm just going to call him Boy. I can't remember what his actual name is, but Kratos calls him Boy the entire time, so I'm going to do the same thing.
Yeah.
The boy is asking, well, okay, we're going on this journey. You said that we might find some highwaymen or some people. What do we do if we see people? And he's like, well, we kill them. But how can you do that? Killing monsters is one thing. And it's like, you have to steel your heart. You can't think of it like these are people. You have to just think of them as a goal to get past. And it's a very steeled, experienced adult view of it, that it was interesting to see the conflict between the child who can't really grasp that concept of survival of the fittest. After you get through the castle, if you will, you get jumped by a bunch of bandits. And they make comments of like, oh, we haven't had fresh meat in forever, glad it suddenly finally came along, and implying there are going to be some cannibalistic tendencies. A tiny bit of a cutscene comes up where you start to engage this one guy in combat, another one goes after the boy, picks him up from behind. The boy kind of freaks out, pulls out his dagger, stabs the guy like in the throat or something like that. The guy ends up falling over on the boy. This is all happening in the background while you are finishing off all the other guys. You finish the battle, and then you go over and you have to help the boy up because this adult man is on top of him and he literally cannot push the weight of this dead person over. As you're going over to help the boy, though, it zooms up on his face and you realize that the way the body landed, his dead eyes was just staring straight into the boy's face. You can tell it shook him up entirely. Like his complete demeanor changes, and like that lesson of these people were human but they still tried to kill me. How can the world be so cruel? And just that moment of abandonment of childhood sensibilities escapes from him. And you're still in the middle of this crypt, for lack of a better word, so you can't just stick around. So you have to get some chains off of the ledge to get out of this pit where you were ambushed in. So you throw the boy up and you're like, okay, boy, go get the chains. He's like, okay, yeah, sure. And then he starts walking and then slowly starts to slow down until he just stops. And he's not looking at anything, he's just completely stuck in his own head. And what you do is you call up to him and you prompt him, you like push a square button and it prompts hey, you know what, you're stuck in your own head, you gotta keep moving.
Press F to pay respects.
Basically. The way they set it up, I mean, this entire time they've been portraying Kratos as this, I am going to force my sensibilities because this is the right thing to do. This is I need to get this done. I've done this before. Boy, you have no idea what you're talking about. Listen to me right now. And in that moment, he could not rely on that. He had to rely on a more of an how to break through in an understanding manner to get him just to push down the thing so you can continue on with your quest. And the entire scene lasted a total of like maybe 30 seconds. It wasn't that involved, but I felt the emotional weight that they were trying to portray in that, and it got me. Like that was cool. That is what I love to see in games.
And that's such an interesting character progression for Kratos' character, because he's just been like awful in the entire series of games, just killing people all the time.
From what I understand, the first 3 games were just calling out, whatever god he was angry at the time, and was like, Aries!
Suddenly you are Rocky from like Rocky 6.
Aries! Oh, that's stuck in my head now. Thanks, Oni. You just ruined the entire game for me now.
You did it to yourself, please. So as for me, I have been playing some more Final Fantasy VII, and I'm not going to mention much about it just because we talked about it enough on the podcast last week, but things are still going good. That is a long game. I was playing it for a while, and I was like, alright, yeah, I'm making good progress, and then I realized where I was at just now, and I was like, gosh, there's still so much more of this game to go. Right now I'm on my way to Bone Village, and I'm also going there in Final Fantasy. Ayo! Oh,
Ayo.
slap. Dab, dab, dab. Slap. Bone Village is what I name my house. Who's your housekeeper? What you keep in your house?
Please tell me that is what you're going to subtitle as the second title for your Let's Play.
Bone Village?
Yes.
Yeah. I take the dump truck to the boneyard occasionally. That is one of my favorite euphemisms for sexual intercourse. So anyway, Final Fantasy VII. In continuing to play this game, it's got me excited in the remake for what story stuff and what character interactions they'll do, because the world building is already there, and there's already a lot of great stuff in the very beginning of Final Fantasy VII. I feel like where I'm at now, still before the halfway point, but just before it, there are a couple of moments where I'm like, oh, I can't wait to see this fleshed out, or why this happened, or how these two characters interact, or something like that. So that's what I'm thinking about as I play this.
Nice, very nice.
Yeah. And from where I'm at, the story really starts to pop off from here, so we'll see.
So I do have one question for you.
Yeah.
Have you yet to figure out why Kate Sith?
Well, I mean, I've always known. I know why Kate Sith. And I mean, there's a great character moment that I just passed up where he really steps up for the team. But just before then, it's really weird why he's like tagging along with you. I don't know. I hope that they really expand on that in the remake. Like, why did he... I understand why he joined you, but why does he stay with you after he joins you? That kind of thing.
I'm sure some revelation will be made in Bone Town.
Bone Village.
Oh, Bone Village. I thought it was Bone Town.
No, Bone Village. I didn't say Bone Town. So this week, we found out that not only are we getting the Switch Lite, but also the regular standard Switch is also getting its own little upgrade too. In a bit of a hushed announcement on their website, Nintendo revealed that the current Switch model will be replaced with a same model, but with a higher battery. Higher battery? Larger battery? Bigger?
Larger battery.
Okay. So, for example, the current standard Switch is a battery life of somewhere between 2.5 to 6.5 hours. That is going to completely upgrade to 4.5 to 9 hours. So that's a big jump.
That is a huge jump.
Yeah, they give an example of Breath of the Wild, for example, where I just said, for example, like 8 times. Where Breath of the Wild currently is around 3 hours estimated battery life. It's going to go up to 5.5 hours in this new Switch.
Switch 1.2.
1.1, really.
Yeah.
So this is expected to go on sale in the middle of August in the States and a little bit later in Europe the following month. And it doesn't look like it's going to be branded or anything like that. I think it's just going to be on the shelves, and that's what the new thing is going to be. And I think it's going to be probably replacing the standard Switch.
I would agree. This made me a little sad because now
What?
I just want to be like, why? Well, I'm sad because now I want the longer battery Switch.
No, that is pointless. Just get yourself an external battery.
Yeah, but I don't know.
But it's the new electronic and Galen need have.
No, it's not that. It's not that.
Isn't it?
It's more of a thing of what I personally wish is that as a consumer that getting the Switch as early as I did, that I now don't have to pay more money to get what is now becoming the standard for other people. Does that make sense? I think I messed up my wording on that.
I feel definitely like because I didn't understand what you were trying to go for there. You bought the Switch early and you got to play all the games early, so there's no downside to that.
That's true.
That's the double-edged sword of buying a launch edition console is that, I mean, look at the Xbox. Look at the PlayStation 3.
I guess.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
that makes a lot of sense, actually.
Yeah. This happens every time and everybody forgets.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, launch edition consoles, too, are the ones that always end up having more kinks in them that they have to fix later on.
It's all about that Joy-Con drift that I keep reading about.
Yeah.
Speaking of Joy-Cons, they have those new colors that are coming out, too.
Oh, yeah. I really like the orange and the purple one.
Yeah. So, what were the new colors again? They were deep blue and neon yellow as one pack. Purple and neon orange for the other one.
Yeah, and that, I don't know, it doesn't look like neon orange to me. It looks like a burnt orange. It's a perfect color of orange.
I would agree. Yeah, I would agree.
So I wanted to mention, though, that is, of course, a significant boost to battery life. Is it just because there's a bigger battery in there, or is it that, what was it, Tegra X1 Mariko chip that we've heard about before? I think we're just going to have to wait until they start releasing into the wild, and then we're going to figure out what's under the hood, but it could be that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's a number of things that it could be. It could be a more powerful, more compacted battery that's in there. It could be the new processors that are in it can handle the power a lot more efficiently.
Mm-hmm.
It could also, I doubt this, but it could also be firmware related. I mean, I don't think we would see such a dramatic increase, but...
No, because if it were firmware, then we would get updates, because you could update your firmware.
Yeah, I don't think it's that one.
What? Is there Galen 1 and Galen 2 over there?
Yes. There always is.
Galen 1,
Which
strike
one are you
Galen 2.
talking to now?
So this could be the third model that we've heard rumored about based on some code within the system data. And from a marketing standpoint, I think that this is entirely separate from the eventual upgraded Switch model that we'll see in maybe 2020 or 2021.
Yeah, I would probably agree with you on that one. I don't think this is that Switch Pro that we're going to be seeing down the road or anything.
But I think that in the code where they did refer to 3 different models, we have the base model, standard one, we have the Lite, and then we have this new one that is going to have a different like serial number or part number to it. So that makes perfect sense for that. And I think that that's where a lot of people were getting the Pro model or whatever the hell it was called.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the newest replacement.
Yeah.
For the old crap. It's crap. That is Nintendo Switch is crap. Put it in the garbage. Put it in the trash where it belongs.
No, I like my Switch.
No, you're going to put it in the trash. Also happening this week, Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 just released.
Do.
Da-na-na-na-na-na.
That's just X-Men.
Na-na. Are you getting this game, Galen?
I think I definitely am interested in this game.
Fake
I
gamer.
I've actually not played any of the Marvel Ultimate Alliance games before.
Oh, you're so fake.
But
You're like a mirror.
This one really did catch my attention when they were showcasing it.
Oh, it's so good. So we also heard from San Diego Comic-Con happening this week. They announced that Loki is going to be in this game. I don't think that it's really confirmed yet whether he's going to be one of the free characters or the DLC characters that are paid, but I think he's going to be free just based on some of the following announcements. So then I will say that they announced that Cyclops and Colossus will be coming as a post-launch update free DLC characters, and that's awesome.
Yeah, that's really cool.
And then they also announced all characters in the game will receive alternate outfits through Q1 2020. I'm pretty sure those are all free, too. They also announced the characters for the Marvel Knights DLC. Those characters are Blade, Moon Knight, Punisher, and out of left field, Morbius. I super didn't expect him.
Because who doesn't need some random vampire guy?
Listen, if you're asking me who doesn't need a vampire, I need a vampire. At any given time. At any given time. Love vampires, dude. What are you downplaying this?
I've never been a vampire fan. I'll be completely honest.
Oh, what? Who are you? Who are you?
Galen 2.
Galen .2. What have you done with the better Galen?
He's currently over here, just hanging out with a dog.
So I'm incredibly pumped for this game. I said before that the past Marvel Ultimate games, my husband and we played those a bunch, and I think maybe he and I will play Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 together, perhaps on the tubes of you.
That would be really cool. What team do you think you guys will be playing as?
All kinds of characters. We're gonna be switching them back and forth, left and right. But I gotta go, as long as like it starts off with her, I gotta go with my main girl, Storm. Yo, when I went to E3 and like chose the characters, immediately, of course, I chose Storm and Black Panther. And then we uploaded the footage and everything like that post E3, and a whole bunch of comments came up and it blew up, and they were like, "Thank you so much for showing Storm's gameplay." And I was like, "Yeah, more Storm fans, yeah, high fiving, what up?"
Nice.
Yeah, happy about that. What team would you potentially choose, Galen?
Oh, geez, I don't know. I would probably go Iron Man. Oh, geez, probably somebody, probably all of the super snarky characters. Like, I see Iron Man, Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, and Peter Quill.
Okay, yeah, that sounds exactly like you.
Yeah,
That sounds exactly like your personality. Oh, I'm so glad I'm talking to Galen 1 again.
yeah. Hey, how's it going? Galen 2's with the dog.
Bury him.
Bury the dog? No.
No, have the dog
my
bury the
dog.
number 2. Have the dog take a number 2 on the number 2.
What? No. Because Galen 1 is the one who has to clean that up. No.
No, you bury Galen 2. We're getting rid of him right now. Don't let him hear what I'm saying, man. And also, very briefly, some more comics superheroes nonsense happening on the Nintendo Switch. DC Universe Online launching August 6th on Nintendo Switch. This is the massive multiplayer online RPG, free to play, super crazy nonsense.
Yeah, I was really surprised to hear that this was coming out.
Did you play it on the PS3 or PS4?
I played it on PS4 back when it launched, and that was like in 2013. So I was really surprised.
Yeah, I talked with a bunch of people from Daybreak Games, the people who are developing this, about the Switch version, and got to demo the Switch version at E3. And wow, those people are so passionate about what's going on behind the scenes with the Switch version.
Hey, good for them, yeah.
Yeah, they're fantastic people. We're going to be uploading a whole bunch of different coverage and a whole bunch of great stuff on Nintendo Everything in the following couple of weeks to help support the release.
Nice.
Yeah, so do stay tuned for that, lovely listeners.
Galen 2 approves.
No!
Let's go, bub.
And it is week 3 of our Fire Emblem Three Houses coverage.
What? I fell there.
Slap, slap, dab, dab. This is my favorite week because it is covering the Yellow House, the House of the Golden Deer.
Team Upside Down Boy.
My favorite upside down boy, his name is Claude von Regen.
Mm-hmm.
He likes topics of curiosity and dislikes leaving things to chance.
Totally not me.
Oh, that's me. That is me. I love him. So, the House of the Golden Deer hails from the, oh god, I can't remember how they say it, Leicester Alliance? It's weird because it's pronounced totally different than it's written.
Leicester.
It should be, like, Leicester. There is an extra syllable in there.
Yes.
Anyway, it's interesting that they didn't call it a kingdom or something like that. They called it an alliance. And then Claude said that they have no need for kings. And I noticed on like their crest, there's 5 individual crests on there too. So I'm pretty interested to hear about this region.
Mm-hmm.
Now in the trailer, they introduced Hilda, who likes fashion, dislikes effort, and responsibility. That sounds like you, Galen.
I actually really liked how they were describing this character because I very much got the feeling of she is the one who will take advantage of her position to kind of get ahead of things with as little effort as possible.
Yeah, they did say she was, crafty or something?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. Then they introduced Raphael, who is a tough guy, rough life, as they described.
Gym bro.
He's not a gym bro.
His like is pure protein and his dislike is book learning.
But when he talked, it didn't sound like a gym bro. He sounds really interesting. And I love his character design with his shirt that doesn't, close fully because his pecs are too
Fit
big.
all the way.
He's got a big old titty. Then they showed off a sassy little girl named Leonie. She likes Captain Geralt, I don't know who that is, and dislikes debt. Who doesn't? I mean, have you seen the people these days? I don't know what I'm doing with that. I don't know. Leonie.
They also explained how she came from like a merchant family, and like the merchants pulled their money together to get her into the academy, and she'll do whatever she can to pay back that debt itself. And I kind of got a feeling of just this like merchant kingdom sensibility from a lot of these people themselves. Like they were talking about how Raphael came from a family of merchants, and how he's so buff and everybody else in his family is so buff because they're all lifting the crates and moving things around like that.
And then the trailer ended with stupid Claude being a flirty dude. He's like, I'm not trying to sway you, but why don't you hop on over here, you know?
So I wanted to actually talk about that a little bit because...
Okay. I'll talk about this.
Team Upside Down Boy is actually the most humble out of any of the teams that I have seen so far.
Yeah, they are in stark contrast to the other two for sure.
Yeah, but you could definitely tell that when they were doing their closing arguments. Because So he ends it by saying that all of the other houses have good people in it. You should really go and talk to them. But hey, you and I, we would make a great team. We'd make great things happen. But he specifically went out of his way to talk about how there are good people in the other teams too. He's viewing them as people, as opposed to this like internalized viewpoint on how his kingdom is going to be. So I went back and looked at the old videos. Black Eagles, they were saying, hey, learn from the other houses, but she trusts that you'll join them. And it was like this sense of like entitlement and, hey, listen, you're going to come work for us because we're the obvious good choice here, but go and take what you can from the other peasants. I may be exaggerating that a little bit, but...
No, that's interesting.
Yeah, that was the tone of what the Black Eagles were. And then when you went to the Blue Lions, they were talking about the weight of your decision and that the good you can do for the people, but it was still internalized. It was that noble, chivalristic sensibility of it, more than, hey, listen, just help people to help people. Where the Blue Lions were like, this is our duty, you need to do your duty, because people are relying you on that sort of a thing. And
you said duty twice, I can't not laugh.
I'll give you that one because of the Bone Village. So,
speaking of Bone Village, Claude, so on Twitter, Claude's voice actor, Joe Zija, announced that he was the voice actor for Claude. Did you see this video on Twitter?
I did. It was a lot of fun.
Oh, it's so good. So it starts off and it's just a one-on-one camera view with him. And he was like, wait, hold on. And he starts to talk and he goes, you know what? Wait, hold on. This doesn't feel right. And he jumps up onto like a jungle gym or something like that right above him. And then he hangs upside down and he's like, I'm proud to announce that I am Claude von Regan in Fire Emblem Three Houses.
He does the entire thing upside down.
Yeah. He even does the pose too from the box art. He's clearly super into it. That guy's done a lot of great work too. And also his voice work for Claude is fantastic. Before I even saw that video, I was like, oh wow, I think I'm going to play the game with English voices just to hear him talking.
Really? I was actually going to ask you that a little bit later. If you were going to play more in English or Japanese.
Yeah, I mean...
Or French.
Oh, they don't have French voices.
They don't?
No, only French text. It's only English and Japanese voices, I believe. So, I do have that luxury of I'm a Japanese speaker, so I can choose the Japanese voices and it'll be totally fine. So sometimes I do that, not always. It's really hard because, God, what game was it? Oh, it was Xenoblade 2 I was playing. And I kept switching back and forth between the English and the Japanese for the first several hours of that game because some voices I hated in one language and some voices I hated in another language. And it was almost it was almost like the inverse too. I like, for example, what was his name? Azurda, the dragon guy. He's a little dragon guy that's in your backpack in Xenoblade 2.
Yeah.
He has this like gross old man voice, like almost like a pervert old man voice in Japanese, and then in English he's like, he sounds like well-read, and he sounds kind of stoic, and I loved his English voice, but not his Japanese one. His Japanese one was like, and like, it was gross. It gave me the shivers right now. Ugh.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I'll probably end up going back and forth on it, but I'm really leaning towards English if I get to hear Mr. Joe Zija speak all the time as Claude.
Very nice.
And then we also got some additional information on Three Houses with a masterclass video. This was a presentation from Japan Expo in Paris recently, and they subtitled it in English so English speakers can understand, and it is originally in French, so that also helps more people.
The French guy translating the Japanese speaker, but subtitled in English.
What?
I'm admiring the trifecta of languages that are in this situation.
Oh, that's just Europe, dude. Like, everybody in Europe speaks like 8 languages, and I mean, you know what I'm saying. Most people in Europe speak like lots of languages and just communicating in several different ones all the time. Sometimes people talk to each other in 2 different languages. You'll find somebody speaking Dutch, speaking Afrikaans, and then Finnish and Swedish. That's Europe, man. So we got lots of little details from this presentation. They showed off the calendar system and the social aspect very heavily, and I didn't realize just how in-depth this was, and how streamlined it was too, because they basically showed off a week to 2 weeks worth of activities that you're doing. It reminded me a lot of Persona 3, 4, and 5. I haven't played 5 yet, but for example in 3 and 4 it was a little slow paced, and sometimes it was like, oh man, I wish I were fighting right now, and it just wasn't the right balance for me. With Fire Emblem Three Houses, I'm like, oh, this seems way more balanced to my particular interests.
You know, I kind of want to retitle this game into Fire Emblem 3's Company, because it felt like a freaking dating simulator when you were going through it.
Well, that would only work if it was 2 ladies and a guy, and then the guy was pretending to be gay.
I saw that lunch with the 2 ladies at the lunch table with your guy. Okay, I'm sure it's in there somewhere.
Come and knock on our door.
The door being the drawbridge that the invaders are coming at.
You went too far. It's not funny anymore.
Sorry, that was Galen too right there. But
this is not good. You can't. No, you're gonna be blaming everything on Galen too. I know he's dead in the ground right now. No, I'm taking it too far.
Yeah. So watching how much of a social element, I think it's kind of cool. I think it's you can really invest yourself on what personalities do you want to invest in, what personalities do you want to bring into battle, and by making it so that you can train anybody to do anything, you can give specialized lessons and you can give certain skills. I understand why they have been focusing so much on the personalities of the characters that you are playing with. In all of the previous Fire Emblems, it was nice to have that there, but I was never drawn to particular choices based on either the personalities of the characters that were in there. And that could just be me playing the game as a tactics game versus a social element game, which is quickly what this game is becoming.
But I do want to interject here. There is a fast track method. You can manually teach your students, or you can automatically teach your students. You can choose that option for those that want to just get into the battling.
Yeah.
Then the manual is for people who min-max and they love every little detail.
Yeah.
So maybe you'll be doing the automated one more often.
I will probably be doing the manual one.
What? But why are you an anomaly?
No, I'm saying that I did not expect it out of a Fire Emblem game. This is the first time that I've really seen this much of a focus on the social elements of it.
Yeah.
Personally.
Yeah, before it was just like you talk with your people, you grow their affinities in battle, and then you can have them talk outside of battle and stuff like that, which was nice, but I'm really going to enjoy these kinds of more involved ways of interacting with my character and teaching them and meeting them for like little tea chats and
having tea parties and
yeah. I much prefer that rather than the pet and rub your husband to waifus mode that was in Fates. Do you remember that?
No.
There was a mode you bring him to your room and then you pet him. You touch him with your finger and then they make all these like kind of gross faces and sounds.
What?
I know. It was all in there, and then it was little hearts and stuff would fly out, and it's like, what is happening?
That's so weird.
Yeah,
that's so weird.
This should be on the Vita, okay?
No, that reminds me of the last Pokemon game where you can like groom all of your Pokemon and whatnot.
You never touch your Pokemon like that, okay? You only pet the Pokemon twice, okay? Any more and that's playing with it.
I'm pretty sure you're on some sort of a list now.
A list of awesome people. Oh, I fucking failed that. Just get me right off the list. Like, I am, what's his name? Oh my god, what's the Grandpa Simpson's name? Not Adolf, but I feel like it starts with an
Not
A.
Abe.
Abraham. Abe? I'm that part of that episode where Abe walks into the burlesque show and then he sees Bart sitting at the reception counter and he does like a complete circle without stopping any movement, and that's me on the awesome list, which is not what it's actually called, clearly.
I just foresee you having to, next time you move to a new place, you go into the new neighborhood, knock on your neighbor's door, and it's like,
how do you do, fellow kids?
I just moved next door. Here's this form. I am legally obligated to tell you I'm a registered Nintendo player, just so you know. And then leave.
Oh my god. That is probably what needs to be happening. Like, honey, hide the children. He's got Pikachus over there.
Our new neighbor is kind of weird. He's wearing different Pokemon shirts every day. That joke brought to you by Galen 2.
Make sure you bring the kids in from the backyard playing. I saw that neighbor boy with a Squirtle the other day.
Just talking about giving out rare candies this Halloween is disgusting.
That's how he gets you. He offers the rare candies to the chillins.
Hey kids, you want to level up? Nope.
I'll tell you all about those IV stats, or what are those called? EV stats? They're hidden. Only I can tell you. Behind hidden doors.
You know there's a Mew under my truck marked candy over here. Want to come take a look?
It's underneath this truck. You want to see my shiny Slurpuff?
No! Too far!
So I was going to talk a little bit more about Fire Emblem, but screw it. This is a good segue. Let's talk about Pokemon. So, in the past couple of weeks and recently, we've been getting some more information about Pokemon Sword and Shield, and so we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk all about that Pokemon. Galen, do you have a favorite type of Pokemon?
I don't think so. End of sentence.
Great.
No,
Good insight. Fantastic podcasting.
Yeah. No, I try to vary up my team as much as possible. I usually stick to having at least a dark type, a steel type, fighting, grass, and normal.
A normal type, eh?
They can sometimes get unuseful, and part of that does have to go with the fact that I have a Snorlax that I have so many fond connections with, so... My Snorlax with a self-destruct gets them every time. They never see it coming.
So recently we heard about two new gym leaders, Bea, the fighting gym leader, and Alistair, the ghost gym leader.
Were you going to talk about your favorite Pokemon?
No.
Oh. Move along.
Yes.
Talk about your ghost types and your fighting types.
Did we already talk about this last week? I don't remember. I think we did because
I think we mentioned it.
Yeah. Okay, moving on. We also got some new Pokemon.
We mentioned the character
This
design.
podcast sucks.
And Alistair being a creepy boy girl thingy.
Yeah. Shy guy.
A creepy shy guy who it looks like has about 3 different Pokemon on the cutscene that I'm seeing right here.
Oh, on the belt. Galen's very keen to look at children's belts. You need to be a registered Nintendo user. So out of those new Pokemon, of course, I mean, I saw him at E3, Yamper, that's when they announced him. He's that little, like, Welsh corgi with the heart on his butt. He's real cute.
Give me all the Yampers.
But
Yamper pups for days.
the real precious princess that must be protect is Alchemy, the fairy-type Pokemon. She's the little strawberry shortcake thingy.
Yeah, that's pretty cute.
It's adorable. Do you see it? She's got a great
little,
design.
like, strawberry things in her hair.
Yeah. And I wanted to mention her Japanese name. So, of course, hold on. So, her English name, right? It's Alchemy, which is a combination. It's like a portmanteau of alchemy and creamy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Her Japanese name is similar in that it's Mahoipu. It's a combination of 2 words. Maho, which is magic, and then hoipu, which is like hoipu cream, which is whipped cream. Like,
Huh.
yeah, for desserts. So,
All right.
magic
All right.
whipped cream. I love localization like that. It's great localization. Good job, whoever came up with that name.
Yamper is still my best boy.
He's precious. He's always just smiling. He's got a little heart on his butt, too.
I just want a team of 6 Yampers.
Well, maybe you're an electric trainer this time. See?
Maybe. You
See?
never know. You never know.
No. You never know when you step out into a new region what kind of Pokemon you're gonna find. Maybe you'll find an electric corgi. I don't know what I did that for. Stupid. So then they also showed off Gigantamaxing, which is different from Dynamaxing in that their appearances actually frickin' change.
Mm-hmm.
This is great. This is what actually matters.
Yeah, I am glad that they included this because it does give this whole Dynamaxing, Gigantamaxing, like, it does give it that variation.
Like, why did they even bother with Dynamaxing? Like, why even put it in the game in the first place, but why show that off before you show off Gigantamaxing? I don't think it was particularly well received. It was kind of lukewarm, and then in my view, was negatively received. I was like, man, these things suck. But these Gigantamax versions are totally different looking. They look way better, have so much more detail to them. Alchemy turns into a gigantic, huge bunt cake that reminds me of the cake that you fight in Super Mario RPG. They look great. I love it.
Yeah.
And then they each have like a Gigantamax move as well. But also only certain species can Gigantamax, which makes perfect sense. You can't create all these crazy models for all these different Pokemon. It can only be certain ones, so that's fine.
Oh, yeah.
It was kind of like with the Ultra Evolution thing? The Digimon Evolution thing that they did?
the Mega Evolutions. Yeah, you can't make every single Pokemon, especially when it comes to evolutions as well, too, because you can't have a Mega Charmander, Mega Charmeleon, and a Mega Charizard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I really like these, and I'm like, why did they, what is going on with the promotion for this damn game, right? They're sort of self-sabotaging in a couple of different ways.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I feel like they're kind of just selling it on the fact that, hey, it's the new Pokemon game for the Switch.
And I think that they're saying that they're getting kind of burned on that.
I think they're kind of getting burnt out by it a little bit.
That'll lead us right into us talking about the controversy about the Galar region Pokedex. So, the big gigantic freakout that everyone is having on the internet, or at least the crazies on the internet. I'm not saying that you shouldn't be upset by this. I'm saying you should not be doing crazy nonsense and having just a meltdown about it. The controversy is that the Galar region Pokedex, if Pokemon are not in that regional Pokedex, you can't bring them into the game from past games. So, for example, if Pikachu isn't in this Galar region, that Pikachu that you've been raising since Pokemon Silver or whatever the hell, or no, hold on, Pokemon What was Game Boy Advance one?
Ruby and Sapphire.
Okay, that Pikachu from Ruby Sapphire that you always had, you can't bring him into Sword and Shield because he's not in the regional Pokedex. That is kind of the problem here. This is the first Pokemon game to do this that I know of. First mainline one, right?
Yes. Every Pokemon game in the past has, in one way or another, been able to at least transfer the older Pokemon and just have the entire collection there. Even if there is no legitimate way to catch the Pokemon in the game, you could at the very least transfer it over.
Mm-hmm. I remember in, what was it, X and Y, they did like a lot of trading, and then that's how a lot of people got different Pokemon that weren't in that regional Pokedex.
Can't remember, was it X and Y when they first introduced the Pokemon Bank?
I think so. I think it launched after X and Y, but yes.
Okay. After the games came out, but it was when those were still the newest games.
Yes, correct. I believe so. I'm almost positive. But you know what? On that note, though, I think that this whole controversy and like their decision to do the regional decks, it goes against what they were trying to promote just like a month earlier with Pokemon Home. They were saying Pokemon Home is the new thing where you can bring all your Pokemon here. All your Pokemon live here. And everyone cares about their Pokemon that they've had for so many years and all that rhetoric. It is directly against this decision. So it's really weird.
Well, and hang on, I need to... So, let me clarify something really quick. So, you cannot transfer your Pokemon Home Pokemon if they are not in the Galar Dex to Sword and Shield? Or are they saying that if they are not in the Sword and Shield Galar Dex, you cannot transfer the Pokemon from the Pokemon Bank to Pokemon Home?
No. This is not about Pokemon Bank to Pokemon Home. We don't know anything about the connection there. I believe we already had an argument about this, and I'm still fighting you. Pokemon Home is going to be replacing Pokemon Bank. But that is
yes.
That is completely separate from this controversy. The controversy is that no Pokemon can be brought into Sword and Shield that are not in that regional Pokedex.
No, I understand that. I'm trying to understand about like the actual storage of your Pokemon itself, and I want to make sure that I got my facts straight before I start telling my opinions on it.
That's a Pokemon Home issue. And I mean, it's not even an issue. Like, presumably every Pokemon can go into Pokemon Home.
Okay, good.
But that's different. That is a different thing.
Yeah.
Totally different.
Yeah, well, and it's because of that I feel like people are being told they can't have something, and they're upset by this, but they're not asking themselves why they're upset by it or if it's even something that they need. I honestly do not. I am honestly of the opinion that it will not make a difference in the long run that not every single Pokemon is in the Galar Dex.
I mean, in terms of what? In terms of sales? In terms of enjoyment with the game? What are you saying?
Enjoyment with the game.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
I think that it's actually going to help like the online scene where it's not a whole bunch of PvP with a whole bunch of outrageously overtrained Pokemon that people have been building up. However, that goes against what they were saying about Pokemon Home, right? So it's two ideologies that make sense that completely are oil and water right here, and it's upsetting the fans.
I think I would have to disagree with you on the aspect of it goes against what Pokemon Home was supposed to be.
How are you going to defend that? How are you going to explain that?
Because Pokemon Home is more accessible than just Sword and Shield. It goes to the Let's Go series. It goes to Pokemon Go. We know absolutely nothing about it, but they've already talked about it's going to have an effect in Pokemon Sleep.
But they were talking about, specifically with Pokemon Home, bringing your Pokemon into it that you've cared about your whole way through and continuously bringing them through every game that's coming out. That's what's so weird. It's like, okay, you've raised this Pokemon for all this time. Now it dies here. This is not Pokemon Home. This is Pokemon Coffin. That's where it stays because you can't use it in Sword and Shield.
No. No. Well, okay, you might not be able to use it in Sword and Shield, but that's not to say that you can't use it in these other platforms and upcoming Pokemon games.
Yeah, the future one in, I don't know, 2024.
Maybe.
You know what
I
I'm
mean,
saying.
that one's hard to say. I know what you're saying.
The
but
following generation.
They went on record to say that going forward, they are going to be making a policy of theirs not to bring every single Pokemon into the games. That they are going to look at their legacy Pokemon, they're going to cycle them out, and they are going to focus on different ones and give various ones the spotlight, as not to completely overwhelm everything.
Yeah.
And for one, them saying, hey, you can't bring over every single Pokemon, you're going to have your Arcanines. You're going to have your Pikachus. You're going to have...
Why did you pull out Arcanine? Arcanine's kind of obscure. He's from Gen 1.
Okay, you're going to have your Vulpix then. You're going to have your Executors. You're going to have those ones that a lot of people have used both in the tournament meta, if you will, or the online scene, but also those ones that have connections with them. But you're not going to see 16 different bird type Pokemon. You're not going to see 30 different fish Pokemon. Like,
I don't know.
I feel like this is what they're kind of talking about when they're saying we're not bringing everything over right now.
Well, it's not even a right now. We're not bringing everything over, period. They said that they're not going to be like updating the game in the future to have all of the Pokemon in it either. They made that statement.
I thought the statement was they said they have not decided on what they were doing. Like, they have not made a definitive stance on whether, hey, this is definitely not happening, or this might not be, or this might be something that we bring down later down the road.
Well, I'm pretty sure it was pretty definitive.
Well, and here's the thing that I really want to bring up that I kind of don't want to, but I feel like we should. This is the first time that we are going to be seeing a Pokemon game on a handheld or on a home console in an environment where DLC is a thing. I would
Wait a
not,
second. Are you
especially...
saying that Game Freak might turn this into DLC to unlock the whole Pokedex?
So if they are looking, one of their big things that they said on not only wanting to kind of limit the Pokemon that are in there from an oversaturation standpoint, but also wanting to just the effort that is going into completely retexturing and redesigning all these characters. They had to start over completely from scratch, making all of these characters when they brought them over.
That we do not know.
That we do know.
No, we do not. No, we do not. Because just shut your goddamn mouth right now. I will fight you. Let me tell you why we do not know that. Because, and I haven't looked into this because I've been busy lately, but apparently that original translation, which I think came out of Silicon Era, that apparently was either misheard or mistranslated or something like that. Some people were speculating, because when you pull up those models and everything, they are like one for one. I'm just saying that it's not super definitive there.
The research that I have done going into this was saying that because of the frame rate issues and because of the way that they were designed back on the 3DS, they could not transfer over properly into the way that the Switch is designed. And because of that frame rate and because of also having to incorporate things like Dynamaxing, which I don't think it's worth it, but if it's something that they want to actually put in, those are completely new character models that they have to create.
Yeah, those for sure.
Yes. I would not be surprised if they came out later down the road and said, hey, here is this new DLC that we are coming out with. It is a new adventure for you to go on. We're also going to introduce a way for you to catch some of the Pokemon that have been missing up until this point. Now, the Pokemon being added to the game, I would see how that part would be added on as free DLC, because that doesn't make a lot of sense how you can have some play with the Pokemon and some not. And then, yeah, once they come out with that free update, then you can go ahead and port them over. But it gives Game Freak the chance to kind of design the Pokemon at a slower pace and kind of work with the team that they have. It alleviates that pressure and avoids that industry crunch of having over 1,000 Pokemon designed from scratch and put into this game.
You are all over the place right now, and you are upsetting me. I got thoughts on that, because, okay, sure.
Go ahead.
Fine. All that DLC nonsense, I think that is self-sabotaging. Fans have very, very clearly shown that they will hate that.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. If this ends up being what they do, I think it will end up very poorly for them. I feel like they would get a very hard learned lesson. But I'm not ruling it out. Like, I'm not ruling out the point that this is something they would do to try to keep that Pokemon, keep things going at a pace for them to kind of figure out what they want to do with the Pokemon franchise.
Okay, so I want to dial it back just a skosh here. I want to talk a bit about the why this is the case. Why is this happening, right?
Okay.
So we talked a bit about like the competitive scene or whatever. I don't think that that's Pokemon's main focus in terms of the producers of the game. So I don't think that is much of a factor as to why this is happening. I think that it's kind of obvious that this is a time constraint in regards to development and the man hours that go into it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm of two minds about this. Because, I mean, how many Pokemon are in the damn game? There's like going to be over 800 Pokemon for sure by Sword and Shield.
There's already over 800.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the final count right now, we're over 1,000.
I don't think it's 1,000 yet. But
Yeah.
anyway, neither here nor there. So going back to being two minds about this, one part of my mind says that this all makes sense despite it not being what the fans want, right? We don't want to encourage industry crunch. Nintendo basically has this 2019 holiday year to go completely bananas. No Super Monkey Ball, pun intended there. And just like clean up. The Switch is killing it. The 360, what the hell year am I in? The Xbox One and the PS4 are being sort of sunset, as the industry's veterans love to use.
Yeah.
Come holiday 2020, when the new Xbox and the new PlayStation are out, that is going to be a very difficult time. That is not the time to launch, and I'm not a marketing expert, I don't know, but I think that is not the right time to launch your Pokemon game, because I don't think that that's going to stand toe-to-toe with a brand new console launch, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't think anything can stand toe-to-toe with brand new hardware like that. So they need to get it out by 2019 according to their market analysts, producers, whatever. So this game needs to come out in 2019. They cut things from the pre-planning stages, like always having all the Pokemon in it, in order to meet that deadline. So that's one part of my mind making sense about this. The other part of my mind on that, though, is in response to all that I just said, why weren't there outside hands or contractors pulled in to tackle the issue in this project to make it happen? Because they should have anticipated that this was going to be very poorly received. The Pokemon Company understands its brand. They really do. So they should know that this is going to be a rough pill to swallow. Pokemon is insanely popular and insanely profitable. They can afford to do this. I mean, every freaking time they release two versions of the same damn game and they sell it to you and people buy both. Like, they got the money. They got the meat.
Yeah. Well, and another thing that's worth mentioning, while I don't feel like this is a detracting factor, but half of their team is also working on Town right now. So
wait a second, we don't know that half their team is working on Town. We know that a team is working on Town.
I thought they said that they were splitting their team into like two groups. One was working on Town, one was working on Pokemon.
Yes, but that doesn't mean like in terms of head count, like around 50-50.
Okay. Regardless, they are not working all hands on deck on Pokemon.
That's why I'm saying then hire in some people. You got the money. You got the meat. What's interesting about... I find this fascinating because I love to study the industry and how games are made. Personally, about the game, I don't feel strongly about this at all. I don't care. I think that would have been smart to aim for a 2020 release date if there was no hardware launching then, just to like get out a super crazy good, brand new, all new generation, all new hardware Pokemon game for fans. But I don't know. I don't know marketing. It's not my thing. Just as a consumer, I can only see, and as somebody who works in the industry, I can only see how things are going and just be fascinated by it. Just like, oh, it's a train wreck.
Yeah.
I think, like, as a consumer, I'd be able to defend this decision a little bit if the game, like, looked like a really big step up from Ultra Sun and Moon, and the Pokemon had, like, way more detail, more attack animations, idle animations, all that. Personally, as a consumer, I'd be like, yeah, you know what, they're really pushing hard to, you know, not be a red mage. You don't want to be a red mage in this situation. You want to be a black mage or a white mage, right?
Yeah.
But I can't, because right now it's a red mage that hasn't learned all the skills. He only has level 1 magic.
I am honestly not as upset about the animations in this game. Would I have liked them to be a little bit more detailed, a little bit better? Sure, of course, yeah. But again, starting from scratch and having to go over 800 Pokemon on top of all of the new ones that they have and all of the new ones that they are creating, like, that is a tall order.
But that's what I'm saying, though, is you contract in some 3D animators. You know that was what was going to be on your table. It's not like, oh my god, I didn't know we had Pokemon.
I don't know. I don't know.
Once again, you and I are on opposite sides of the fences. I really thought that you were going to be with me on this one.
I can honestly understand. I'm with the company's decision on wanting to cut the decks down.
I am too, but I'm also like, why didn't you make a nicer engine? Why aren't you just use something that everybody already uses, like Unreal 4 or something like that? Like, just, I don't know. I want it to impress me. I really want this game to impress me, and it's not really. The Gigantamaxing is awesome. I think that's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Why that wasn't
Dynamaxing, not so much.
Dynamaxing, you look like a damn Pokefloat. You look like you're not alive. It looks like a model.
Yeah.
But dialing back the emotions here, because clearly you're getting emotional here, Galen. Not me. See, dialing back here, this is fascinating to watch, and I really am curious how things happen and how fan reaction happens. If you are a fan that is upset by this decision, please be chill about it. I understand it being upsetting, but you gotta be chill about it. Do not, start flame wars on the internet, argue with people, try and hurtle insults at people. Like, I don't even know. It's just, don't do that. Don't be those crazed fans. I understand it being upsetting.
Have a discussion. Don't just shout.
Yeah. Have a genuine discussion if you're just... Oh, never mind. That's getting a little too personal. Because this is the curse of having a series that is all about collecting things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Gotta catch them all. That's what it's always been. And now suddenly, oh geez, this been going on for, God, how many years now? 25-ish?
I have to admit, when researching this, I did see an image of it was Pokemon Gotta Catch 'em All, except for the M all was scratched out, and it was changed to Gotta Catch some of them.
Yeah. I don't know, like, I was trying to think about, like, solutions for this too, right? Just spitballing here as a person who doesn't know about game development and 3D animation, if they could group some Pokemon into certain groups for 3D animation, and then give all of those groups the same idle and attack animations with little bits of variation if necessary, perhaps something like that would cut down on development time, but I don't really know.
I mean, possibly, but then you're also risking losing the personality in the Pokemon themselves, and they're already struggling about that right now. Like,
yeah,
we have a Pokemon that's a freaking ice cream cone.
We've had that Pokemon for a while. I mean, in the very, very first generation, we had a Pokemon that was a magnet, okay? So don't say Pokemon's not ever been real dumb and sometimes
and that
completely...
was unique.
No! Do not... You take those rose-colored glasses off your face and you shove it right up your butt, because
Listen, I remember catching Mewtwo, and he was the greatest, and I had all 151, and
You
come at
never-
me, bro.
Caught a Mewtwo. You traded to get that, I'm sure.
I caught that mother effing Mewtwo.
No, I'm
With
canceling you
Master
out.
Ball.
You're canceled right now. Pokemon has always had, in every generation, really inspired creations and really dumb ones.
And really dumb ones.
Yeah, do not even with the rose coloreds.
Yamper is still best boy.
Oh, he's so cute. He's got a little butt heart. I love butt heart.
He's got a little lightning tail.
Yeah. So I don't know what the genuine answer is to like fix things, but I think it is important that we explore this topic and every aspect that we can, so we are informed, and so we just pay attention to what's going on in the video game industry. That's what we're trying to do here. Not trying to be hype men, trying to be those crazy people. None of that. You just get real talk.
Oh, yeah, boy, Pikachu in the house.
Pikachu with the sideways cap.
This one's going out to all the Alacreams out there. I don't know. I'm at my limit.
You're at
I've
your
used up-
limits.
I have used all of my PP. I have no ethers left.
Oh my god, he can't get his PP up. You heard it first.
You know what? I was like,
No, I'm cutting it right there. Shut up.
40.
So let's talk about additional DLC. Galen, what you got this week for the people?
Honestly, this week is more of a public service announcement more than anything else.
Oh?
Yeah, so we've got Epic Rap Battle as my additional DLC this week.
Okay.
They have been around for quite some time, like early days of YouTube internet. For those who have not heard of them, they take two figures, be it historical figures, characters in fiction, whatever, and they just have a rap battle. I mean, it's right there in the title. The reason I'm bringing these guys up is because they kind of went on hiatus for a little while. I think they stopped putting out videos about, I think when I looked, it was like 3 years ago or something like that. But yeah, just like about a month or two ago, they started putting out new videos, which I was not expecting, because if you haven't put out new videos after about like 3 or 4 months, your channel is basically done. Like, it's really, really kind of hard to pull back from that, especially in the YouTube scene. So, really excited these guys are back. I've been a big fan of their music. They write all of their original tunes on there, as well as the lyrics themselves. There's a lot of effort that goes into what they produce, and highly recommend them.
All right. And then this week for me, I am recommending a video on YouTube by Super Bunny Hop. Do not let the weird name deter you. Super Bunny Hop is fantastic. He does a lot of investigative pieces and a lot of, I won't say analysis, but it's more like analysis of an industry as opposed to video game analysis itself, like the development and, how Jumpman jumps. He's talking about the state of edutainment when he's talking about Nintendo Labo. He's not talking about how the game actually works. So he looks at it from that point of view. This video is called Media Literacy and Game News. It's nearly an hour-long explanation and interviews on journalism in the games industry. He talks about identifying information and sources, reading bylines, identifying the author, following the sources, and that's all about the consumer angle. He also talks about, on the other side of that fence, ethics, funding of the media, and so much more. It's really excellent. I didn't even watch it in like 2 parts or something. I had to see the whole thing through. I highly recommend it to absolutely everybody who's listening to this podcast, because I have made constant calls for a logical approach to news, reporting, and reactions to said reporting and discussions. So if you're on the train with me, Oni Dino, I know that you have a solid head on your shoulders, so do check out this video. There's timestamps even. Who does that?
Nice.
Yeah. So now let's take some listener mail from one of those lovely listeners who has a solid head on their shoulders. What do you say?
Listen to me.
Day bow bow.
Nintendo. Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Nintendo.
Oh, we accidentally just made the best thing ever. So if you got a good head on your shoulders, you're going to want to write into us. I want to hear it. You can write into us at nintendoeverythingpod@gmail.com.
Send those lovely emails to nintendoeverythingpod@gmail.com.
And if you did, you might be one of those awesome people who sounds like this.
So, our first email is from our lovely listener, Leanne. Hey, Leanne.
What up, girl?
Leanne writes in, "Hi, Galen. Hi, Oni. I hope you two are well. We are well. How are you? How are you? How you doing?"
How you doing, girl? How you doing? I'm doing good. I had a smoothie today.
Oh. What flavored smoothie did you have?
Banana and Darjeeling. Wait, by banana I meant pineapple. Why did I say that? Shut up! Don't embarrass me in front of the Superman.
So, Leanne writes, "I'm going to go a bit into some conspiracy level theory here, but bear with me, please. With the Switch Lite getting a release date of September 9th, I can't help but get deja vu feelings of March 3rd, 2017. On that day, we got the original Switch as well as Breath of the Wild. Last month, we learned that the second Zelda game for the Switch, Link's Awakening, is coming out on September 20th. And a few days ago, we learned that the next Switch iteration is also coming on the same day. Am I weird for thinking this can't possibly be a coincidence? The Switch Lite has been rumored for the longest time alongside a Switch Pro, and personally, I feel like the Switch Pro is coming eventually, and that it's just a matter of time. During E3 last month, we also learned that Breath of the Wild 2 is in the works. Is it possible that the Switch's third big Zelda game and the next iteration of the system will also launch on the same day once again? Yeah, launch on the day once again on the same day. I mean, it's not that crazy to think of. After all, Nintendo has been one of its biggest... Nintendo has had one of its biggest successful launches of the decade with the Switch Breath of the Wild combo, and it makes perfect sense that they want to keep recreating that momentous occasion. Thanks for writing in, Leanne.
Thank you, Leanne. That was a colossal failure, Galen.
Oni, what do you think about this?
So. I have many thoughts on this because, first off, we gotta say, what did she say? What date? Sorry, Leanne, the date you wrote down was wrong. It was, you wrote down September 9th. It comes out, September 20th. Just spreading correct information out there. It's all good. My first thought is, but what would a Switch Pro actually do for Sequel of the Wild? Theoretically, if a Pro version operates like a PS4 Pro does with a boost mode, will it just make Sequel of the Wild run at a higher resolution with better textures? Or could we possibly see a 60 frames per second Zelda? Have you seen those YouTube videos of the Cemu emulator on high-end PCs running Breath of the Wild in like 1080, 60? It's super gorgeous.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm not a developer with foundational knowledge about this. I can't say what's realistically possible with a Pro upgrade or whatever. But I will say that with the Switch Pro, the inevitable Switch Pro that comes out, Nintendo needs to make that a highly desired product by saying something like this, the Breath of the Wild sequel. It's gonna be huge, right? Like, Breath of the Wild was a cultural zeitgeist when it came out, regardless of how people really felt about it, even though it was really well received generally. People are definitely looking forward to what this sequel will do and how it's going to make it different, how it's going to make it similar to Breath of the Wild. So I think Nintendo needs to sell the Switch Pro. This is the perfect avenue for them. I am in agreement with Leanne about this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, say the Switch Pro is going to do something really good for Sequel of the Wild. Say it'll run it at 60 frames a second. And if they can do that, and then God, that's such a lofty goal. But if they can do that, then they can promote that. That is really going to be a reason for very dedicated people, which is who the pro market is after. It's going to be what they want, and that's going to get it into some serious households, which is what Nintendo wants to do if they want to get that extra juice from the Switch Pro to be attractive to third-party developers in the future. If third-party developers are going to be shying away from the Switch in the future with the PS5 and the Scarlet coming out. I've talked about this weird conundrum that Nintendo is going to be in the next, 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
I think she's really onto something here. Because what better game to launch that upgraded system alongside with than Sequel of the Wild? It's going to be hugely important.
I would definitely agree that we are going to be seeing Breath of the Wild 2 on the Switch Pro, whatever that may be.
I mean, it's got to run on the base one, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I honestly feel like the Switch Pro is going to be coming out sooner than when they are ready for Breath of the Wild 2. I'm on the opposite side of the fence on this one, to be completely honest. And I love the points that Leanne was able to bring up. I know, that's been the theme of this episode. I love the points that Leanne has brought up in this episode, but I do feel like some of the evidence is a little circumstantial and coincidental. I feel like when the Switch originally launched, of course they had to have a big game to sell it. They had to be able to push something. I think that when it comes down to it, they were torn between either Mario Odyssey or Breath of the Wild.
What?
But they
Why would you say
decided,
that?
well, because the two both had that kind of polish and that just that Nintendo attention to how the games actually played. I do, however, think that Breath of the Wild was a little bit further along the development cycle, so they decided once they got closer to the launch date to put more of their resources behind Breath of the Wild to get that finished first, to be able to bring that out first.
I feel
as
like we don't have
opposed to
anything
Mario.
that suggests that, but go on.
This is just how I'm seeing things.
Okay.
With that being said, I do still think it is going to be quite some time until we see Breath of the Wild 2. Like, we're talking 2, maybe even 3 years. With that said, with the number of rumors that have been going around about the Switch Lite, but also the Switch Pro at the same time, the fact that we're talking about the Switch Pro, and we've been talking about for the same amount of time as the Switch Lite, I think that they are very close to a start development time, and I think they're going to want to get the Switch Pro out sooner than when Breath of the Wild 2 is done. They're still going to want to have a game that can really showcase this, so I think they might focus more on trying to release it along the same time as something, let's say, Bayonetta 3, or go with one of the first party titles like Metroid Prime 4.
Yeah, but both of those are niche games.
I
don't think it's going to move hardware. Not like a Mario or a Zelda.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like people who would appreciate and focus on the added power to a Switch Pro is the same demographic who would want to play something like Metroid Prime 4.
I agree, but I think that is a larger pool in terms of sequel to the Wild. Sequel to the Wild, whatever.
I kind of like the name. I think we should stick with it.
No, it sucks.
Yeah. Honestly, I think the Switch Pro is going to come out a little bit sooner than when we'll see Breath of the Wild 2.
In terms of timeline, though, when could it possibly come out? Because the Breath of the Wild sequel, at the earliest, will come out holiday 2020, in my opinion.
That is lofty on that one. I think we'll be seeing that 2021.
Yeah. I mean, Nintendo is not going to release I really don't think they would. A Switch Pro model alongside the PS5 and the Scarlet, that's just going to be dead in the water. You disagree with me on that too?
I don't know.
Oh my god, I'm going to total bish-bosh you.
We know so little about the Switch Pro. Like, we don't know what its capabilities are. We don't know if it even exists.
I know, we're talking hypotheticals here.
I know.
I'm trying to be as realistic about hypothetical situations.
And you're arguing why I do not agree with your hypothetical situation.
I am going to argue with you
let's
until
take a
the
step
day
back
is done,
here for
man.
a minute and realize this.
Oh no. I stand up for truth and justice, surrender now or prepare to fight.
What?
Fake.
Dab.
I actually did do that too when I said that. Okay, so realistically about like a pro version and stuff, like what would it do for video games? I think looking over at the PS4 Pro and its boost mode will tell us a little bit, because with PS4 Pro games, usually it still leaves something to be desired. It's not transformative. Taking Bloodborne, for example, it just made the 30 frames per second frame rate a little bit more stable, really. And from what I've heard, only some games got the bump from like 1080 to 2160. My point is that it has not been transformative for games. It's not like suddenly Bloodborne is 4K 60 frames per second. It is not that. It is not that big of a...
the games have to be designed with that kind of a thing in mind.
And, I mean, they'd have to like dial back on polygons, dial back on draw distance, on so much different stuff in order to actually hit 60 frames per second or something like that. It has to be more of a corridor game than anything. Oh, speaking of this, like, if anyone listening is like a serious PC gamer or is an engineer in this field or something, I would love to hear what you have to say about this. Please do write into us and give us some educated opinions, because I don't know what I'm talking about. Galen sure as hell doesn't know what he's talking about. Have you heard that? I mean, have you seen what he's said?
Well, Oni, you take a minute to collect yourself there with that scene of what you said, and
I'm all collected over here. I'm a puzzle with every piece in place, not just the corner bits.
How about you see what I'm saying as I read our second listener mail for today?
That was a rough segue, but you know what? You keep driving.
Thank you. So we have one more email today, and this one is from Sammy. Hey, Sammy.
What up, dude?
Sammy writes in, Fire Emblem Three Houses is so close to releasing soon. I am wondering what house you guys are going to choose. Frankly, I am having a difficult time choosing myself. I do not feel strongly for either house yet. Thank you. Thanks for writing in, Sammy.
Thank you, Sammy. He's a cool dude. He writes very kind comments to me on Twitter from time to time as well.
Aw,
yeah.
Those kind comments are always very nice.
I'm feeling the love. I really enjoy our community of listeners. So, Galen, what do you think? What's your response to his question?
So, obviously, I very strongly want to go with Team Upside Down Boy. Because not only is it a fun thing to say, and I kind of like the color yellow versus red and blue.
Right,
but
right.
I very much like the humble approach that they kind of
He's so handsome, right?
Like,
I mean, what? Go on, sorry.
I feel like I connect more with the Golden Deers more than the other guys.
Deers?
With that said,
Did you put an S at the end of that word?
Golden Deer?
Yeah.
Well, what would you say if you're talking about multiple Golden Deer members?
Deer. Deer is plural and singular.
Is it really? I honestly did not know that.
Oh my goodness. A million English as a second language speakers are ripping their hair out of their heads. I tried to think of the word head in like any language, and I couldn't think of it besides Japanese and Chinese.
I would say, as a close second, though, the Blue Lions are kind of more appealing to me over the Black Eagles. So
Why is that?
I think, I like the idea of chivalry, honor, and duty versus a regal sense of like entitlement and ownership over an area. So I honestly feel like the Red Eagle or the Black Eagles are more stuck up, and it just kind of irritates me. The Blue Lions, I'm like, yeah, okay, you guys are a little bit cliche and a little bit fedora milady with some of your things, but you know
Jesus.
what? I can get behind and say that you guys have at least good intentions, where the Golden Deer seem to be the most honest of the group. So, Oni, how about you?
So, I need to know more about the story. I know I keep saying Team Upside Down Boy, everything like that, but honestly, I could be swayed to any house. I really don't know how the houses differ in terms of their mentality very much on the world and what's going on in the world. So I do hope that choosing a house is not the like actual first thing you do in the game. I'm hoping that it is like you choose after several different missions and story beats or something, kind of like a soft tutorial. They did something like that in Fire Emblem Fates, except you had to buy the version you chose, which was dumb. But something
in the masterclass, they were really kind of going on about how when you are going through your week, you can actually go on to like solo missions or non-story related missions and kind of choose whatever members you wanted to, who can kind of like from different houses to kind of go with it.
Right.
So you can like mix and match your teams.
Yeah, so I'm interested to see how all of that plays out. Like, I've kind of intentionally tried not to look into it too much because I want to be surprised with the game, right? So
yeah,
I mean, I'm really going to need to play and see how these people interact, see what their viewpoint on the world is before I can truly choose. In the trailer that we got this week, Claude did say, get to know them and then make a decision. So I have confidence that it will be like how I was saying with Fates, where there's some missions ahead of time, then you choose your house.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But if that's not the case, I'm going just like total sex appeal, and that is Claude. That Claude Van Regan is one piece of ash.
He's thinking with his weapon triangle, folks.
Did you not get the Billy Madison reference? That was Chris Farley.
I've only seen the movie like once.
Who are you?
Galen 3. Dun, dun,
He's the
dun,
one with the red eyes.
dun.
But yeah, Sammy, I'm right with you, except that I have fallback.
Mm-hmm.
Let me know which house you choose.
Yeah.
You? Me? Golden Deer? Could be great together.
He's not going to call you back.
I know! He's totally that kind of dude, isn't he? Tadai! That's they call him in Japanese. We have to have something like that in English. Like a playboy, I guess. Yeah, playboy.
Mamma mia!
So what is coming up? What is coming out on Nintendo Everything? We got, of course, more E3 impressions, interviews, all that junk. We got a Hatsune Miku dev interview coming up, Super Monkey Ball dev interview, and sometime soon, but not exactly sure when, we are doing an investigative piece on the Joy-Con, and we also have reviews for God Eater and Kill la Kill If as well. So much good stuff. Which are you most excited for, Mr. Galen?
Super Monkey Ball.
Yeah, I worked on that one. You got a favorite out of the characters in Super Monkey Ball?
The monkey in the ball.
You've never played Super Monkey Ball, have you?
I played it once.
Oh my god. Go back to Destiny. Speaking of which, I'm surprised you didn't pick up Anthem. It was literally $15 this week.
It'll go cheaper.
It will. You'll find it in the trash.
Yeah.
Sitting next to, what did I tell you to put in the trash? Oh, your Switch. Yeah. Oh, that's weird. That feels like another time ago that I was talking about that. That was like 2 hours ago.
This has been a very transcendent episode today.
Yeah. Lovely. So you can check out all that great stuff, including Super Monkey Ball, which Galen has never played, on NintendoEverything.com. Hello, everyone. This is Future Oni Dino. I am coming to you from the very late hours of the night as I am editing this podcast, and I just recalled that we have another thing to promote from our website, Nintendo Everything. We are currently hiring for a couple of positions at Nintendo Everything. We have one news position available to help us cover the night shift. And by night shift, that is, of course, is in reference to United States time. So anybody in Europe or in Asia that is interested, that's probably pretty beneficial for you. Because that's the daytime, mostly, over there. Oh my god, I'm so tired. We also have an opening for a Japanese to English translator, and if you are interested in any of those, please do check out the post on our website, nintendoeverything.com. It has all the details in there. Please look over everything to make sure that you are qualified and that you can commit to the requested time slots. We also have the contact information on there, so do check out the post on our website. Thank you very much for putting up with my sleepiness. Stay connected with Nintendo Everything on our Twitter, of course, at NinEverything, and our YouTube, where we upload a whole bunch of crazy good stuff, gameplay and such. That's youtube.com/NinEverything. Then you can stay connected to me on my Twitter. That's at Oni_Dino, and my Insta, which I've been uploading real good. I've been doing good work this week. That's at Oni__Dino. I need to bust out my other phone that I used at E3 and upload some of my E3 pics on my Insta.
Yeah, I'd love to see those.
Do check it out, because you got an Insta. I know you do. You got a Twitter and an Insta. Why don't you tell people what they are?
Well, my Twitter is at Mobius087, and I don't have much going on this week in regards to projects, but, stop on by, say hey, see what weird things I actually post when I do post. I did a face reveal on as a reply to one of your tweets, actually, Oni.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So come to my Twitter and not Galen's.
Come to Oni's Twitter to see all of my tweets.
Don't go to Galen's Twitter. He can't get his pee-pee up.
Applications for the Galen Internet Attack Squad is still open.
What are the qualifications for that position, Galen? Quick, tell me right now.
You need to have a Twitter, and you need to be able to post comments. You have to post combative comments.
I have a feeling you're going to be out of business in a day. Someone is going to usurp your friggin' position.
Bring it. This is Galen 3.
I don't think so. I feel like Sammy or Eirik, they can take you. You're going to knock out all 3 Galens and be like, this is the Sammy Internet Attack Squad now. Sias!
Hashtag Sias. No, don't do that.
We don't know what those hashtags could mean. Do not shout them out. They could be porn. I'm not going to promote a porno on here. So, thank you all so much for listening. Again, if you could, please give us a rating on iTunes. It is the best way to support our show and to help us grow our channel. We really appreciate that. Stay tuned for next week and for everything Nintendo.
Stay tuned to Nintendo Everything.
Bye-bye.
Later, everyone.